Alright, welcome back everybody. We are going to be running back a very similar trajectory to what we did yesterday. We are going to be playing some standard best of three on the arena ranked ladder. This time, we are going to be getting some reps in with the deck that we're actually taking to Baltimore. The number one boogeyman of the format. I'm sure that is very exciting for everybody. But I thought it wouldn't hurt to go over a quick little update on the list and kind of where it's at right now. So, in standard currently, even though according to a website like MTG Goldfish, which is going to actually show mono red as the most popular deck, I don't think anybody's actually expecting that in Baltimore, right? I think most of the Vivi players, the good Vivi players, have a plan against red. I don't think the matchup's actually that bad. And Vivi is going to be the most represented archetype in that event, almost assuredly. There are some new decks on the horizon that are looking pretty promising, in particular in that matchup, which you need to be in order for the deck to be playable. I'm mostly targeting the Sultai Reanimator deck that I played yesterday on stream, as well as the blue-green Ouroboroi deck, which I think is quite powerful. And then there's basically a lot of different variations of the Ouroboroi deck. I think you can play it in white with Gear Hulk. I think you can play it in black with some extra removal. I think the deck is quite good with a few different avenues that you can follow. So this is the list that I'm at right now, and if you're familiar with the deck, you'll notice quite a few differences pretty quickly. Roaring Furnace is kind of a card of the past. It was in a lot of lists at the very beginning of its infantry, if you will, its infancy, and a lot of people kind of got off of it because it couldn't target planeswalkers. It didn't exile. There's a lot of reasons why the card fails at just being a removal spell. But I do think that you want a way to interact with a big creature that's not just into the Floodmaw. Something to deal with like a 4 toughness, 5 toughness creature, what have you. But it does a few other things that I think are pretty interesting. The 9th enchantment to be able to have for Delirium count is relevant. The extra ability to bargain it for Torch also is quite important, especially in a format that is so headlined by a lot of these cheap, efficient threats. It's really nice to be able to actually get 3 damage out of your Torch to the tower, because this deck's not actually that good at bargaining it otherwise. The only other really interesting thing about the sideboard that I'm doing, which actually I don't even think I have in this iteration. Yeah, I'm actually going to cut one of the Unable to Screams, which is something that a lot of people think they depend on in the red matchup. But I've actually found that the red matchup, you almost do a little bit of harm to yourself by over-sideboarding removal, because a lot of times you're bringing in that removal at the cost of card draw, because card draw, generally speaking, you don't want to have too much of it against red for obvious reasons, right? You won't have time to use all of it. But bringing in a bunch of 1-for-1s and then failing to find your card draw is actually one of the ways that you can lose that matchup, I've found. So I like not overboarding there in particular. You still want, plenty of removal, but I think, as you can see, I was bringing in 6 or 7 cards against red, and if you're bringing in that many cards and cutting a lot of card draw to do it, that can obviously be pretty problematic. And I do want the Soul Guide Lantern in the deck. Now, I think the Reanimator deck, there's actually a couple different variations of it, and I think it's getting quite popular. And while I don't think the matchup is poor by any stretch of the imagination, I'd have no issue playing against it, I do think having access to a Lantern is pretty big game. Just because Cauldron is so slow, and a lot of times they're going to have an answer to your Cauldron anyways, but they can also work around Cauldron a lot of times if they have enough of the mill effects. So I think it's a pretty good idea to not overlap with the 1 card at a time hate cards like Vacuum. I think the Soul Guide Lantern, the ability to just axe everything at the same time, makes a lot of sense. And that's all we've got for the changes to the deck, so we are going to get into it. We are starting today at... Oh, I didn't actually look. But I think we finished yesterday at 19th, maybe? So we're pretty high up there. We are pretty high up there. A lot of my friends that I will be traveling with to Baltimore are pretty excited about the Reanimator deck. It's nice when you have a new toy in a format that was otherwise pretty stale. And as you saw from my session yesterday, I think we won all of our matches. The deck is legit. The deck is real for sure. Number 17 is what it says, but I think that might not be accurate. I think we're a little bit higher than that. Yeah, the Reanimator deck is a lot of fun. I also really enjoy this Vivi deck, and I think it would be a pretty egregious decision to both enjoy the Vivi deck and then choose not to play it at a tournament where it's very clearly the most broken thing somebody can be doing. We are on the draw. Our opponent insta-mulliganed, and this hand is serviceable. It's not special, but I think it's certainly better than your average 6 against unknown opponent. Lead on the Mako. Looks like we're probably playing against, yeah, I was going to say mono red, just red, white, burn. Second Cauldron, not where we wanted to be. Let's go ahead and draw this card, get the counter on our Mako. Oh. Not the best start I've ever seen. Pretty happy to get my 2 points of damage in. Blocking is effectively illegal. It's just very unlikely that we'd be in a spot where we would have actually been able to do that. That was a good draw, and we needed it, because we were going to be in a lot of trouble otherwise. Let's go ahead and get the Scholar. We're almost certainly going to just discard 2 cards no matter what to try and make our Mako large, because presumably if they have a removal spell, they're going to prefer to kill the Scholar. If they have double 1-mana removal spell, like double Burst Lightning, that would be really problematic. But we're definitely not going to be playing around that. Let's just discard a couple of these Landos. Looks like they're killing the Mako with a Helix in response. I'm a little surprised by that, I guess. Maybe their thought is they would be kind of just shit out of luck if the counter actually went on and I chose to make Mako a 6/6. Other Oxen you control have double strike. When it enters or attacks, exile if it's a land. Otherwise, you may cast it until the end of your next turn. Well, isn't that something? Isn't that something? So we are just in a world of danger here. And no real plan for anything either. Because he's just going to shelter this and attack us for 1,000,000. Playing the Sanctuary now doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we're kind of doomed. Let's draw a card off the Riddler and hope that we draw like a FOMO or something. Winter Night Stories. It's going to be good next turn, potentially. But I'm not even going to have a creature in play. It may not be. Alright, let's go ahead and get the Cauldron in play. They are going to shelter our Scholar, I assume. I don't think there's a lot of value in using the Cauldron. The Scholar's just going to die anyways. And we can always Cauldron a counter if for some reason they target our Cauldron, but I just don't think there's any world where they're ever doing that. Oh my god, they got Voice. I don't think they have a white source in hand, though. I think they would have already had it in play. But that's still going to be a problem for us to deal with next turn. Oh, yeah. I can't believe we're losing to this 4-mana 3-toughness card. We have so much removal in our deck. Wild. Oh, and they have the Voice, too. That's tough. Tough business. Floodmaw for Scholar is interesting. That's actually one of the best draws that we could have had here. So, Ward 2. So do I bounce the Challenger, or do I bounce the Sheltered? 1 mana versus 3. I could Winter Night Stories first, but then I'm priced in. That's probably not right. 3. And then there's, like, not really anything that I could draw. That's tough. It's actually a really tough spot. I I I think I just have to bounce the Challenger, though. Because, oh, man. So if I Winter Night Stories first, I get deeper. I guess I always have that option. Yeah, so I'm just supposed to Flood Maw just the Sheltered. But I am supposed to do it first. Because I might not have to spend the mana on Stories if I hit the Vivi. We didn't. So now I'm unfortunately forced to play the Winter Night Stories, because I think I'm all in on Vivi, right? I don't think playing a FOMO is good enough. I do not feel like playing a FOMO is good enough. Play the land first, because I would like to be able to have access to a Torch the Tower if I were to draw that. And no Vivi means we're dead, unfortunately. Removal for that, yeah, we're just dead on board. Alright, unlucky. The Age-Old went through 21 cards. Probably win that game if we get a Vivi there, realistically. We would have been able to go pretty nuts because we would have been able to make 8 mana with the Vivi, or with the Scholar, because we would have been able to go to combat, force them to have an answer then. If they don't, then we put the Vivi on via the Cauldron, so we could have sequenced around a Burst Lightning there. Just want to bring in the removal. Generally, in the red matchup, I like to trim the Makos. It's one of the only matchups I don't mind doing that. I'm going to be on the play. On the draw, I like trimming profs. But on the play, I'm probably not very interested in that. I do, generally speaking, think it's right to trim on some of the combo pieces, especially in the white version, because them having Rest in Peace is absolutely a possibility. And I think we can get rid of one of the Riddlers, and then this still leaves us a ton of card draw. Oh, you know what? So would it be different against this red-white deck? I had actually been leaving all my card draw in, like I kind of mentioned previously in the deck reviewing, and I've been trimming Floodmaw, but I wonder if that's not right here, because he showed us that 4-drop. And then he also showed us Sheltered by Ghost, which may or may not be in his deck. Yeah, let's do that. Let's leave both Floodmaws in this time and see how that goes. Because Floodmaw is a great answer to Sheltered by Ghost. Boom. Pretty easy sneep. It's a little on the unfortunate end that we're obliged to take 2 damage from our passage, but that's what you pay for the consistency. I do not think that there's any world where we would justify saving the life to not play the Mako. The Mako is just going to give us too aggressive of a start early, which is obviously very important. All right, let's go ahead and jam this FOMO. We're going to discard the Vivi. There's no guarantee that we even have the Cauldron online or anything, but even if we don't, we've already got our play next turn lined up in the Scholar. Pretty happy to attack and get my damage in. Even though they're the red deck, I'm pretty happy being the aggressor. It's just so reasonable that they would attack into us if I left both my things back and, you know, pump plus burst lightning or something. And it's very easy for things to go wrong, whereas attacking is just always a guarantee. I like erring on the side of that if you're unsure. Just in general. So we're always playing our land here. I think it's pretty likely our Mako dies. So I'm wondering if there's any world where we want to Winter Night Stories to guarantee the FOMO, but I don't think the FOMO attack is that important either. It's probably better to Scholar first. It's a little frustrating because the Mako always dies to like a Lightning Helix or something now. Because I'm never going to discard multiple cards to try and bait it out, right? If they have it, they have it. And I think we're just happy to discard Winter Night Stories here. I don't think there's really any other option that makes sense. 2 lands, not out of the question, but all right, pretty easy double attack, I think. Something dies to Helix, he takes 2, goes to 19, and then he gets to attack in. So it's like maybe I'm supposed to leave something back, but it's the same scenario as last turn, right? Yeah, I'll just let him have that. If he's willing to Helix the Mako, go to 19, and then attack and have his play be attack into the Scholar, I can live with that. I would rather get my damage in. Yep. Exactly like we suspected. When you attack, put a +1/+1. Our opponent is playing a lot of cards that I am not familiar with. Whenever you control deals damage to a player, exile, you may play that card this turn. He's already played his land, he's tapped out, so that's not actually a threat. That's fine. Alright, so we've got our second blue source, which is for sure what we're doing. I think this turn's actually pretty straightforward. I don't think we're in a rush to rush this Winter Night Stories. Riddler Stories is a much bigger threat with the profs already in play. So I think our line here is pretty easy. I think we're going to draw our card first off of the profs, but almost no matter what we draw, we're just going to be screaming this Gloria here and going on the aggro. FOMO is a fine draw, but does not change anything. I still think this play is quite a bit better than playing the extra FOMO and getting a second counter from profs, but like I said, ultimately, I don't think that's wildly important. Now, the counter distribution here is kind of interesting because I could put this on the FOMO, and that puts it out of reach of Helix and Abrade when I'm going for my Winter Night Stories play next turn. So I actually think that's what we're going to do. I think making something a 4 toughness is quite a bit better than making 2-3 toughness things against the Lightning Helix and possibly a Braid deck. Obviously, we're letting a potential Burst Lightning be a little more valuable, but I think that that's a fine trade-off. Nemesis, good card, but I think that we can deal with the Nemesis this game. I think our opponent is very close to dead next turn. They have the chump blocker here, so they're not actually dead. What is... Each opponent exiles a card from their hand. So it's just this land, I guess. I don't need it for anything, really. Alright, that blocker is really good for them, because they're almost certainly not dead now. Oh, I can actually... No, that's not going to work either. I'll have to be able to put another card in the graveyard. Tough. Alright, well, let's go ahead and lead on the Riddler. Second FOMO doesn't do a lot. Let's go ahead and get this Stories online, see what's up. Fire Magic should be... Oh, I guess the Fire Magic's not actually that good, huh? And there's no way for me to get Delirium here? Enchantment, land, play the instant, so there is. Creature, enchantment, land, play the instant. And then we deal with the blocker that way as well. So that means I have to put... Oh, this is... So, is this going to be lethal now? Because we'll have Delirium, and we've drawn 4 cards. I think we just barely cheesed out a lethal here. So I'm going to have to hold priority. And I'll go ahead and play my land. That's fine. Boom. I need to do the profs trigger first and hold priority, because if I play the fire magic before I do that, the 1 damage could kill from the Nemesis could kill the Scholar. And then this is important because that gets the extra blocker out of the way, and that'll do it. Nice little lethal there. He blocks there and then takes an additional 4 cards drawn, so 13. You love to see it. You love to see it. All right, so gonna board a profs out on the draw. Got a lot of interesting creatures in his deck. A lot of interesting creatures. Probably just forced to have the 3rd Mako in, no. Just because it's the cheapest card I can have access to that affects the board on the draw. I could go back to my full combo. The opponent never showed us a way to interact with the graveyard. It's not unreasonable to just go back to double combo piece and try to be faster. I actually think that's very reasonable. So then that would mean I would need to make 1 extra slot, and I'm probably just cutting an Abrade at that point, because I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think 9 removal spells plus the Flood Maw. You know what? It's just going to be a Flood Maw. I talked myself into it. I do think Flood Maw maybe has a larger case in this matchup for where our opponents like playing these kind of like more mid-rangey Boros threats. But I think having more permanent removal and then access to the combo more quickly is a totally fine line. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, this hand's just not keepable. It doesn't do anything, and we're on the draw against a red aggro deck, so gotta send it back. This hand is not good, but it is going to be better than your average 5, I'm pretty sure. So we'll run it and see where it gets us. No 1-drop is nice. Probably no 2-drop. Wow, that's insane for us. What did our opponent keep? Did he just keep like the all removal hand or something? That makes our profs look insane here. And now we actually have some real removal. We're a little weak to a Nemesis, unfortunately, but if our opponent helixes us and then doesn't have a Nemesis, he has another threat, could be really good for us. Yeah, very nice. Love to see it. I guess I'm obliged to just play the Vivi. I think only spending 3 mana... I mean, I kind of ultimately want the Vivi in the graveyard anyways. I don't have the 4th land. If I could get Vivi plus a spell online, I think that would be reasonable. Or a way to, like, draw cards or something. But as it stands otherwise, my only play would be Mako plus sit on Abrade. And I kind of can't imagine a world where I need to sit on Abrade. Maybe it's just so likely that the opponent has removal that I'm just supposed to Winter Night Stories and waste the card draw because of the profs, which is kind of what I didn't want to do, but I guess that's what I'm going to settle on. I hate wasting 3 draws from a profs, but... And then next turn I have the ability to Mako plus. So I actually think this is a pretty easy Scholar. I think I'm pretty far away from wanting to play Scholar on any of these turns. Just because it's so likely it's going to die, right? If I thought it would live, that would be one... Oh, you know what? I could actually double spell next turn. Let's, yeah, let's decline and discard like this. That's actually... I like this. This is a nice little hedge. So, what this play does is this play gives us the ability next turn... Oh, well, never mind. And rest in peace. So there goes our Scholar. This is actually still really good for us, though. Like, I don't even mind losing our Winter Night Stories because our opponent's not putting any pressure on us. And now we get to remove both of these. This is excellent. This game is going really, really well for us. Let's blow up both of those. Jam this Mako. And I'm super happy now to just discard this Cauldron to any of my card draw effects. I don't need the graveyard at all. Land, so he gets a 2/2. It's a little annoying because I don't really want to risk not drawing the land, but I think I have to because the Cauldron's not a real play, right? So, like, if I play the Scholar and miss on the land, it feels really, really bad. But I at least still get to make my Mako bigger, make the Scholar bigger. I at least am still making a pretty good play on the board. If I just abrade the 4/3, I don't think that's justifiable at all. Because I don't have any other way to spend my mana. I'm not going to play Cauldron with the Rest in Peace on the board. So let's play Scholar and hope we get a land. But if we don't get a land, it's not the end of the world. We did get a couple lands. I'm just going to discard Cauldron plus one of them. Bink, and I think there's a real case to holding. That way we have the ability to guarantee put the counter on our Vivi, but I think this is just so much more likely to be a higher payoff. And I think I just want to make a big Mako. Alright. We've definitely weaseled ourselves into a position that I think is quite strong. Easy take two here. And our opponent can't be happy. Alright. If I had to draw two lands, that's about the best that it could have gone. If he has Burst Lightning, he has Burst Lightning. I'm okay with that. I would rather... Yeah, this is totally fine. That's a Lightning Helix that's not going to us at our face. And I think we want to make sure that we don't make the Mako too big or make the mistake of having it be gigantic without blockers back. Because a Threaten card is... I don't think it's likely that they have it, but it's at least in the realm of possibilities. That's totally fine. That is not the kind of game that our opponent should be wanting to play. We're still at 14. Yeah, now we're at 12. And our board is fantastic, yeah. Second Mako doesn't do anything here on the board. That's probably a pretty easy cycle. It is kind of annoying that I don't have 7 mana, because I really kind of want to just attack with the Sanctuary also. If I cycle and miss, and then I don't have a Sanctuary as a blocker, would I be dead to... It'd be 8. This would be 3. I guess I would... I mean, I'm not losing my blocker, right? So I could just chump block if they were to draw a Threaten effect. So I think I can cycle this main phase. Oh, I wish it didn't tap my Sanctuary. That's lame. Oh, Arena. Oh, Arena. It's alright. It's a good draw. Let's go ahead and go to combat. Put the counter on the Scholar this time and send her on in. Gonna be really tough for our opponent to win from this spot. Pretty happy to go to 9. No real interest in trading. And Nemesis means the game is over, right? Because kill this. Oh, no. The game is not over. Unlucky. Alright. Animate and see what the draw gives us. Alright, probably obliged to just attack with Scholar here. I could torch the Nemesis, but then he kills my Scholar. I'm not sure that's better. Yeah. I think 3 blocks, 3. I think it's just attack with Scholar. I think this is just better in pretty much every front. Because now he's going to attack with... He's forced to attack with the Nemesis because he needs a way to be able to deal with our Scholar. But we can go to 6. I mean, we're not going to get burned out from 6. Yeah. Match got pretty interesting there at the end. Rank 16. Our opponent had a pretty interesting take on Boros, that's for sure. Pretty interesting take on Boros. Come on, give us the top of those ladder matches. Let's get that sweet, sweet rank 1 lovin'. Here we go. We lost the die roll again. How unlucky. Never lucky. Ooh, unkeepable hand. You hate to see it. Our opponent also mulliganed. Alright. 5 cards it is. This is better. For sure one of the lands, and then it's just got to be a Flood Maw. Yeah, it's just got to be a Flood Maw. The guaranteed 3rd land in case you draw Winter Night Stories or a Scholar, I think, is just too important. Oh, and it looks like we are playing against red again. I'll settle for a Mako. Mako's not the worst draw I could have had. Challenger that he is. All right, this situation's a little different than the last game where I was advocating not attacking. This time they're forced to use the removal preemptively because I could just double block the Bastronaut. So I can't get quite as gotten by a combat trick or a removal spell. So, yep, it is a Lightning Helix, and we are going to take another 4 damage, unfortunately, down to 13. But it forced them to do that main phase, so the no attack is still quite relevant, I think. And if our opponent has nothing, this attack denies the challenger attack. And we would be taking 1, 2, 3, 4 from Bastronauts, which we could live with, but we're obviously super far behind. So we'll see how it goes. I suspect we are a gigantic dog this game. They don't have Challenger plus spell, right? Oh my god, they have Challenger plus spell. Is it Frenzy? It can't be Frenzy. That's like the biggest slow roll ever if it's Frenzy. It's got to just be Burst Lightning. It's Burst Lightning. They're just going to Burst Lightning me and deal... Yeah. Unlucky. And dead. Dead again. Alright. This is a more generic red deck. This is kind of more along the lines of what you expect to face in an event, as opposed to our previous opponent who had a bunch of strange mid-range cards. Bink, 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 and I'm on the play, so I'll leave profs in. Just a Riddler. I could be the Makos again for the combo. Yeah, let's do that. I'd actually been enjoying doing that. They could still have the same rest in peace kind of stuff that I mentioned from the last opponent, but I think it's a little less likely because the other opponent was very clearly doing a more mid-range thing. I also just think it's very important to have access to the draws where you have a bunch of speed, right? I think you're more likely to want to trim combo pieces in the matchups where you can consistently go long, and I'm just not sure that's true against this version of Red. I think this version of Red, you want to have your ability to be able to go as fast as possible, but still have good efficient removal to deal with their early threats and Nemesis and stuff like that. This is a lot of removal. So we're just going to passage red. Yep. This is fine. Bink, bink. And we are not that upset that we are saving the life from the tap land, because, yeah, I think it's just very likely that we get pretty good value here. Yeah, I'm actually just down to take the Bastionaut damage. I want to try and get a 2-for-1 out of this Fire Magic if I can. If he plays Challenger here, I think I'm less likely just because I don't want to take 3 damage for free. I'll definitely take 1 damage for free, though. I don't care about that at all. No way he pumps his thing, right? Yeah. Needlehead. Needlehead. Yeah, so there's like a couple things going on here. I wouldn't mind getting the 2-for-1 on Fire Magic, but I kind of want to be able to play Vivi plus Torch, and I need there to be something in play for that to happen. I guess I can let this be in play. The 1 damage from it is fine. FOMO's not a bad draw. I can live with FOMO. The Hellkite. Yeah, that's mostly fine. Gonna go ahead and do Fire Magic now. That way they stay at 2 speed. Because they have more Bastionauts in their deck, I think that is actually... Oh, no, I guess it doesn't work that way anyways, right? I still go to 3 speed. That's fine. At least now the board is clear, which is relevant. We did draw the land. The problem with drawing the land there, though, right now is... I mean, the problem... So there's a couple problems here. I have to play the Vivi. And it's just going to feel bad if they have a removal spell for it. Because, obviously, there's no creature in play on their side, so I can't reliably torch something to give it a counter. But the other problem is, I don't actually have a card that I want to discard this FOMO. Is the other thing going on here. I actually think playing FOMO here is a totally justifiable play if you have something that you're willing to discard. I just don't, because I'm not willing to discard my 4th land. I would maybe be willing to discard my 5th land, but even in this case, I'm not willing to discard it if it's blue, probably. Our deck ends up being really mana hungry, so I just don't think that's a route I want to go. Magebane Lizard. Sure. I will take a damage to get rid of that, because it is a problem. Am I willing to discard this second Abrade? Am I willing to discard this second Abrade? Yeah, I think so. It's very important to start getting on the board. And I kind of... Second Vivi is not that appealing. Alright, let's crunch. Our opponent did not play a land, so we know that they've got 4 spells at least. Potentially 5. Another Magebane Lizard. Is there any world where I torch my own Vivi in response here? No way, right? Maybe. It lets me flip the room, which isn't nothing. Yeah, fuck it. I see the vision. Cauldron is interesting. Cauldron's super interesting. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell. So I don't really want to play Cauldron first, even though it's a little awkward for combat. That's so bad for my efficiency. Alright, I'm going to crunch in. He's probably going to take it, right? Just go to 13. I don't think you block here. Yeah, I don't think blocking makes a lot of sense. And I think I just have to take a damage for my Cauldron, unfortunately. I think playing it is just better than not playing it. Yep. So, again, it might look like I gave up a point of damage there. Or 2, being able to remove something. But the reasoning for that is I wanted the ability for him to be able to block. And if I play the Cauldron, he's never blocking Vivi, and he's probably not blocking here, but even if he does, then I take that 2 damage right back from Abrade. So I think sequencing-wise, this is slightly better. Alright, opponent has 4, still maybe 5 spells in their hand. If it's just all creatures, though, we might be okay. Like, Nemesis is still a problem. I don't have a great Nemesis answer, especially since my Vivi's going to... Oh, well... What was in their hand? What a strange game. Very strange game. Alright, running everything back the way it was. Except minus a Profs. Plus a Mako or a Floodmaw. Or it could just be Tursa, honestly. Generally, I'm pretty unhappy with Tursa in the red matchup, though. It's probably just Flood Mob since they're on white. It's not great, but... Again, this is one of the matchups, I mean, people are playing red, and it's so popular, because it... Even though, like I said in the preview, that I think Vivi is totally fine against it, that doesn't mean it's not one of your harder matchups. And this hand is not good. What do I think about this hand against an opponent 7 on the play? It's clearly not good. The question is it better than the average 6? I guess not, right? Because it's already kind of a mulligan to 6 with the Cauldron, double Cauldron. Yeah, I just gotta send it back. This is not good either, but it is better. It is better. Get rid of the duplicate Scholar. I think the diversity of maybe being able to want to Winter Night Stories is more valuable. No 1-drop again is nice. Probably Floodmawing any creature that they play this turn. I can't expect them to not play a creature like... Yeah. Yep. Into the hand you go, buddy. No, sir. And you can kind of see why, like, I bored a Profs out, because if he already had one or two creatures in play, you really don't have time for this to be your play. But you still want some of them, because sometimes you end up in a scenario like this, where if our opponent doesn't have a third land here... Oh, wow. Yeah, they're in... I mean, we have a real avenue to victory now, because we just have a 4/4 Scholar. A very, very real avenue. And then that was, of course, a fantastic draw. So we can get all of our stuff online. Things are looking up. Things are looking real nice. Because we're basically free with the Cauldron next turn. There's no world where our opponent can have 7 spells in his hand and pass. Yeah, he has to play something. Yeah, this game is over. Our opponent is probably going to concede. G, a G. Does the sequencing matter here at all? I can always do that. None of it matters. I just want to draw the cards first. Yeah. Yep. Excellent. I went a little fast there at the end. We stayed 16. Unlucky. I moved a little fast there at the end once I knew that the game was over. In case it wasn't immediately obvious for kind of the sequencing, doing it the way that I did. If you already have a creature with counters, you generally want to make sure you spend your resources to do the Cauldron activation on a different creature. So it was very high priority to get the Riddler into play as the target for the Cauldron Vivi counter activation. And the logic for that is, basically, if they were to have a thing to respond with, they have to respond when you target the Vivi in the graveyard, because once the Vivi is under, and you have the reflexive trigger from the Cauldron, then you can already make the mana from the other creature that has counters on it. So as soon as the Vivi is under the Cauldron, even if he has a way to interact with the... which he didn't, he was tapped out, but you still want your sequencing to be good, even if there's no counterplay for your opponent. As a general rule, right? You still want to do things correctly. And then I would have already been able to make mana. I had immediate access to the mana on the Scholar that had counters on it. All right, we go again. We go again. We have an opponent. Oh, we finally won a die roll. Let's go. Oh, buddy. Yeah, this hand is not good. This hand is not good. It's kind of already a mulligan to 5. But the problem is, like... it's weird because it would be a very good Moldify, right? Yeah, I think I'm going to keep this. I think I'm going to keep, with the logic being, I've already got 3 Cauldrons. I don't think there are actually that many bad draws. Like, it would have to be all of the expensive cards, basically. I actually am going to keep this. This is, for sure, the fastest mulligan on the planet if you're on the draw, I think. But I think being on the play means I get to make up a little bit of the tempo. Duress. That's funny. Well, they're taking Floodmaw. That's funny. Thoughtseize Bug as it was. Floodmaw, obviously a pretty terrible draw, but Demon Wall is not a card that we have to concern ourselves with. Unlucky. Ooh, we're in business. We're in business. It's just gotta be Winter Night Stories. Now he can't even... Oh, that's tough. Tough for the opponent. I was gonna say he can't even strategic betrayal us because we could just eat the Vivi in response. I think it's pretty good practice. I mean, black does not have a way to interact with an artifact that's in play. I guess if I had another creature in the graveyard, I think it would be really good practice to eat the Vivi now with the ability to potentially draw another Vivi and go super crazy. But since I don't have another creature in the graveyard, if I were to just untap and draw a blank, I don't actually have another good way to get a counter on anything. So I guess I'm kind of obliged to just not do that. I'll just eat their duress. Yeah, I think this is just significantly safer. Oh, Mako's an excellent draw. Am I ever discarding? I mean, so I'm always playing this first because it just nets more mana. Mako in this spot is a little bit of a dark ritual because it gets counters itself. And then I don't think I'm ever actually getting to 4, but I don't think I need to get to 4. I think this is just fine. Playing the 1 from hand. And then I've already played my land, yes? Yeah, interesting. So I still have access to 4 mana, so I can still go 2 and 2. Which I think is just 100% what we're doing. Any interest in what I'm discarding? I guess not, right? I don't think an order of operations really matters on how I play these either. Normally there's a world where it can matter. This does not look like it's one of those scenarios. Do I care about his Demon Wall? I just don't, right? Yeah, it's just discard 2 lands, and then we're going to use our remaining mana to FOMO discard our extra Cauldron. You could do the Winter Night Stories there, but I think getting the extra FOMO on the board is quite a bit better, and this is what I was going to say with the reasoning for that is I want to be able to have access to more card draw if I just find profs next turn. I think it's very likely our opponent's just going to concede this game anyways. They are sitting on all their stuff. So our opponent clearly is representing infinite removal. I lead here. Probably make mana first, because I don't actually care that it's going to get bigger, but I also don't need a bunch of untapped mana on my opponent's turn. So yeah, let's lead on Furnace, tapping actual mana for it. And then I actually don't have another way to proc Delirium. So I'm pretty sure I'm not going to Winter Night Stories unless I find a way to do it. Because I'm not going to do it at the cost of the profs. The profs is how I win the game this turn. And now we can, because we have the mana from that. So now we're safe. Now we can play our land. Now we can make mana here. This is perfect. Now we've got all our bases covered. 2, tap this, plus this. And now we get to sit on our braid as well, and no removal does anything. We've got, like I said, all the bases covered. For sure. And then he probably has to kill the other one so he doesn't die to the Mako. He takes just, what is it, like 1 trillion damage? Yep, well, you are dead, friendo. Can't shoot the Sheriff, Mako. Oh, he just has Bitter Triumph. Alright, that works. That's something, I suppose. Do I ever use Cauldron? I don't, right? Cauldron doesn't really do anything here. I could make the mana and turn on my room. That's not nothing. I mean, it's not like I ever need the Cauldron on tap to eat something of his, because the Slasher isn't going to be in play yet. Yeah, that's fine. I can buy that. No reason to have to sit on a braid here. Alright. You can see where, I mean, our opponent is still fighting, obviously, but they're just floundering. There's not really anything that they're going to be able to do. I mean, they could just kill our creatures for the, yeah. I mean, they're just going to try and kill every creature that we play for the entire game. That strategy is, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for our opponent. That strategy is not going to work. It is not going to work. Do I ever use the first Vivi activation that way? Vivi, use Cauldron on it. And then Winter Night Stories? I don't want to do that. I would want to play the Mako first. Maybe I'm supposed to discard the Mako to the Winter Night Stories, because then I get the second activation of, I just have infinite mana with Vivi plus Profs, and I just get to draw 1 million cards. Yeah. That looks a lot better to me. It's very rare that you end up in the spot where you don't play Mako first before you plan on playing a bunch of card draw that make you discard. But as you can see, mana's a little tight this turn. Oh, I don't even think I discard the Mako anymore. Probably just discard land Profs, since he's on the plan of remove every creature, right? No, but then I'm out of stuff. Yeah, it is just. It's actually probably just land, right? Because I just have so much mana next to, in my second main phase. Yeah, it's actually just land. Land looks better to me. Alright, let's go to combat. And then, now we've got new mana. Yeah, discarding Vivi is fine. I'm still slightly concerned. I mean, our opponent, because they're also drawing 2 cards a turn, so there is like a world where they're going to keep trying to kill our creatures, and while I don't think that strategy is going to work, we are getting to the stage where it's like mildly annoying. Alright, now we get to make mana this way. And I don't want to overdo it. I think I'm not going to play the Scholar. I'm going to save that for Prof's counters next turn. That was another good draw, because they're not going to have a sweeper. Let's go ahead and get that in play. Just to assure that we're putting enough power in. Because, yeah, we don't have to deal with a sweeper or anything. That's good enough. That's all I've got. 15 cards left in the deck, and they should be out finally. They tried. They played their hearts out. I feel like our opponent's just like staring at their like deadly cover up, like taking a screenshot of it or something. Alright, well, get some profs counters, I suppose, but not much need to go too crazy. Oh, this mana, that's actually funny. All my units have this ability, and abilities can be any color, right? You may spend mana as over any attack of creatures you control. That's funny. Yep, so there's no reason to do anything else. Just go to combat. Don't need any procs triggers, because, I mean, if the FOMO ever procs, we're winning anyways. I think we win the game even if our opponent has 3 removal spells, right? Because if they were to go, like, hypothetically, kill, 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 we just make infinite mana. I'll untap the small one, because if the big ones get through, we win anyways. He's animating the sanctuary, huh? Alright, before blockers, buddy. Tough stuff. Alright. Mono black mid-range. What did we see? Because a lot of these lists can vary, right? Some of them can be more demon-themed. Some of them can be more kind of low to the ground, focusing on, like, the Cecil Dark Confidant stuff. Probably want to focus on their threats more than their card draw engine. Like, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have Spell Pierce or Annul in my deck for Annex and very few other targets. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have Fire Magic in my deck. A lot of their creatures are going to have bigger toughness. I could imagine a world where the enchantment removal is pretty good here, but it still keeps their creature type, which means there's still demons for his Annex, which is like a little annoying. And this is actually a pretty good Flood Maw matchup, right? Because Slasher, the 4-drop, 4 toughness demon, and obviously the demon token from Annex. I could kind of see this being a matchup where I just run it back, where I don't actually want to make any sideboarded adjustments, or at least nothing sweeping, right? So it's like against a deck where they're trying to out-resource you, I think the Riddler is a slam dunk. And they have a lot of Planeswalker removal, right? Better Triumph and the Charm. So I don't think Ral is insane, but I don't think they're like crazy likely to have a board presence either. And it's a pretty good standalone threat on an empty board. So yeah, let's do that, because this is a matchup where, unlike where we were talking about the red matchup, there's basically, in my opinion, no time pressure to get the combo online. I can get the infinite mana combo online effectively on turn 10 if I'm not under any pressure, and win the game pretty easily with it that way. And you just don't want to be flooded on those effects after sideboard, because they could have a lot of interaction for the Cauldron Vivi combo. That's an easy mulligan, of course, and this hand is fantastic. What are we sending back? What are we sending back? It's actually just a land, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it's just the old Sanctuary. Really good hand. Oh, I would have liked to have known. I should have played Canal there. That was me being a little goofy. I don't think it's actually going to get punished for it, but... Interesting. Opponent should take profs. Taking Cauldron there is... That is not correct, opponent. That is not correct. Excellent draw, of course, and we're getting in there. I don't even know if I could create a hand where taking Cauldron is correct there. I don't think there's a single hand that I could create from the opponent. Pretty easy little Mako into FOMO turn. Discard the 4th land. Little bit annoying, sequencing-wise, that I have to play the FOMO before the Riddler. I guess I don't have to, but I do think spending my mana is more important. We want to do this all pre-combat, of course, to get our profs trigger. Next turn has the potential to be very good. I'm going to diversify a little bit. Is our opponent just staring at his Bitter Triumph, or is it... Oh, it's Alchemy Charm. That makes sense, too. I thought it was going to be funny if he had Shoot the Sheriff and he was just forced to kill the new FOMO. Ah, that's a good tactics. That is a good tactics. Now, if he has a removal spell, we are in quite a bit of trouble. Oh, Thoughtseize Bug in full effect, baby. You love to see it. You love to see it. He's going to kill it with the ability on the stack. Very smart. So we only draw 1 card. Probably just keep diversifying, yes. I mean, he played a shoot, so I don't think it's necessary to, like, put a bunch of extra counters on this Mako just because of that. But I think all of his removal just kills everything anyways, right? Like, he showed us the -2/-2 sorcery. That kills neither or both, depending on the board state. I think I'm still far enough away from Delirium that I would rather just diversify. I think if I were to hypothetically put the counter on the Mako and then he killed the Mako, I would be really sad. And Duress is going to miss. And yeah, we're just going to out-aggro him now. Our board is getting pretty scary. Oh, that's a really good draw. That's a really good draw. But I don't really want to trade Mako for FOMO is the problem. Or Mako for Demon Wool is the problem. So maybe I just send in for 3. Yeah, because I definitely don't want to play this Vivi in my hand. Now that I know I can just Abrade the Bat, and then next turn FOMO, discard the Vivi. And then play the Cauldron. I need a land for that, but a land and 2 cards I think at this stage of the game is pretty reasonable, because I already have gone through quite a bit of the deck and not found it. And even if I don't, that means I drew 2 more spells. I'm not in any danger of dying. So yeah, I think this is a pretty easy, just play it slow. We're both playing like a very low resource, low mana resource game. And I have a nice little angle to pull pretty far ahead. Yeah, Cecil is just completely irrelevant here. And just like that, our opponent is in a lot of danger. There is the land. Tough. Tough, tough, tough. We're still 16? Isn't that 2 wins in a row? Okay, okay. Wait a minute. I'm getting turbo griefed. No? So I was 17th at the start. We went win, go to 16. Win, stay at 16. Win, stay at 16. I'm getting turbo griefed. Okay. Okay. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan. One and 3 in die rolls. Unlucky. I'm going to complain all the way to the bank as I keep this very good hand. Firebrand. I have not seen a lot of red decks play Firebrand. Interesting. I guess I'll pass and give them a point of damage. I think there's a real argument to be made to just torching that now. But I would like to get something better than the Firebrand, because I think the Firebrand's pretty low impact. It's like much worse than Bastronaut. See, now this is annoying because I just like took an extra damage for no reason. But I'm going to be spending my mana pretty much for the rest of the game, no? I guess turn 3, I might. So I'm definitely playing FOMO next turn. And then I guess on my third turn, it's probably pretty unlikely I play Winter Night Stories. I probably have to play another 2-mana card plus the Torch then, so I can not torch this again. I don't think that's, like, great or anything, but... And then we're just going to discard Winter Night Stories or Passage. Interesting. The Winter Night Stories gives me the ability to have a really explosive Prof's turn. All right, let's see. If my next turn play is Profs plus Torch kill something, the turn after that, I would have Winter Night Stories Torch in the graveyard. How likely is it that I can get Delirium from that spot? Because I lose the sorcery. I would have to, like, find another FOMO. But that would let me set up a turn 4 lethal. I'm probably supposed to go for that, right? Like, I don't think I'm going to have time to play both halves of Winter Night Stories anyways. I don't care about the passage, right? Like, this is more of a play to actively put the Winter Night Stories in the graveyard than it is to want the land. And we're, you know, totally happy to just vitamin our life total there with the FOMO. Letting the Lightning Strike eat it is totally fun. Duh, Mako. Another Profs, that's a problem. Alright, so our opponent's playing a pretty strange list of red, but we're obviously in some danger here. Probably just has to be Profs pass, right? I don't think you can really justify Riddler plus Winter Night Stories. We're just... It's too easy for us to take a bajillion damage, I think. Plus, I wouldn't want to play all of that card draw without getting the Profs online anyways. We have drawn a lot of Landos. Those are going to be getting discarded. Definitely starting to wish that I had just killed this Firebrand right away. Discard a card, then draw 2. Sure, we're just going to go ahead and torch this now. No way for it to turn on this turn, right? Because he could only play 1 land, and he's going to have 4 cards in his hand. So, still like our spot for the most part, but we've definitely had some really fumbly draw steps here in the mid-game. And I think that's 4 lands in a row, right? Yeah, so that's not helping. That is definitely not helping. So many draws that I'm wasting unless I draw a Mako. Really want to draw a Mako here. Damn. More lands. Crazy game. Crazy, crazy game. That's tough. Very strange list of red. But we're kind of just not doing anything. Our deck's really letting us down this game. Tursa, that's tough. Guess it's lucky that he didn't have a land. Because he could have turned this on, right? Oh, no, I guess it's only at your end step. Never mind, it doesn't work that way. I thought it was ever if you were hellbent. Oh, Mako, I needed you last turn. How disrespectful. Still playing you first now, though, because I need all the power on the board I can muster. Oh, Torch is a great draw. Let's go ahead and double discard, of course, because I just want the Mako to be as big as possible. And then we can actually get rid of the Torch, or get rid of the profs via the Torch, so we can even get value that way. Okay, this is something. This is something. I think our spot is that scholar into the top deck Mako is going a long way. Gross. Gross, gross, gross. No! No, 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 no! No reason to do it in response. Doesn't accomplish anything. Ooh, piece of candy. I think I'm keeping that. Maybe not, it doesn't do anything now. But then, like, if I immediately drew a Vivi... I mean, we're getting to the point where I need to draw one of them eventually. And I guess next turn I'm just... What am I doing next turn? I kind of want to play Riddler, but I don't get to proc it, which is so lame. It's scary. But at least they didn't get to do the thing. Maybe I'm just not supposed to play Riddler this turn. Maybe I'm just supposed to spend all my mana. That can't be right, because then I just take another 2. I don't think taking the 2 damage is, like, a reasonable thing to do. Yeah, just get the Riddler in play. If the board was empty, I think you could justify spending all of your mana in other ways, and then just saving the Riddler for its proc, but... Yeah, I mean, we would have just been so far behind. At least now... Yeah, they're a full turn away from drawing the extra cards off this. We should be able to stitch this together. I mean, we're at 37 cards and we haven't seen a Vivi yet. So presumably the Winter Night Stories should, at this point, find a Vivi. Is there anything I want to do beforehand? I don't think so, right? I don't think there's any reason to do anything beforehand. I can't empty my hand, right? That would be what I want to do, but I can't get enough cards out, so... And I don't think I ever need to leave the Sanctuary. Yeah, I'm never activating Sanctuary, so this is fine. Wow. No Vivi still is so cringe. Wow. I think I'm supposed to gamble now, unfortunately. I think I'm supposed to... Winter Night Stories again. Because at least I have the failsafe of a Braid, one of them. So I'm not taking a million damage. I guess I could just play a land and profs and attack for 8. And then win the game next turn, maybe? That's probably better, right? That's probably better. Because if I just play Winter Night Stories and miss, I could actually lose the game. I think I'm unlikely to lose the game from this spot. Now, is there any world where I don't attack? Is there any world where I don't attack? He gets to draw 3 cards, right? Yeah, he's going to have 3 cards in his hand. And he would only need 7 damage. That's actually, like, pretty scary. Yeah, I'm actually going to not attack. I'm giving up the ability to win next turn for sure. But I think I'm so likely to find the Vivi next turn that I will actually be able to win next turn anyways. It's just not a guarantee. Whereas this way here, I think it's impossible for me to lose the game this turn. Which is, I put a lot of emphasis on. I'm definitely not losing the game this turn now. Yeah, that's one of those judgment calls where I'm choosing to make sure that I get the next turn, and I'll find a way to win next turn, as opposed to guaranteeing that I win next turn, but making myself a little more susceptible to dying this turn. And he's just playing a second case. That should not do it, my friend. Oh, I was supposed to. He could have dealt 2 damage to me. I'm always abrading there, though. I should have done that in combat. Alright, so 4 plus tap that. So I'm just never spending the Harmonize on this, right? I'm just always tapping the full 5 mana for it. Yeah. Finally, my god, man. What a crazy game. It certainly made us work for it. How many cards was that? It was the very last card of that, too. 31 cards to find our first Vivi. Interesting. I still don't actually win the game from this spot. My opponent discards their hand and only draws 3, but I don't actually win from this spot yet. Interesting. If I tap the Riddler, how likely is it that I can win? I would have to find a removal spell. I could also chain a bunch of mana if I found another Vivi to discard, because I could reset Cauldron. I think I am supposed to do that, probably. So there's the Vivi. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's discard Boom, Boom. And I think this is a reset Cauldron angle. Where are you? There you are. There he is. 20 cards. FOMO. Play that first, so I draw 3 cards off of this FOMO. Yeah. Alright, so now we're basically just waiting to draw a removal spell, right? I think as soon as I draw the Abrade, right? Because I have an Abrade and 2 Flood Maws in my deck. We're basically in the waiting game for those. Oh, there it is. I don't know if I've drawn enough cards, though. I have to have drawn 16 cards. So it's still kind of close. Where is it using the mana? I still have the mana floating. That's great. And then which of these have I not used? These. Let's go ahead and do this one first. Perfect. I get to draw another 3 cards. I started this turn with 29 cards, I think. So I'm at plus 19 card draw right now. So this should be lethal. I'm pretty sure this is lethal. We're going to keep going just because, though. All right. Plus 25. That'll do. That'll do. Crunch. Sweet deck, by the way. Sweet deck, by the way. All right, so our opponent showed us Firebrand, a bunch of Crimson cases. He showed us Makos with, I think, no way to discard other than the Crimson, right? I don't think we saw, like, FOMOs or anything. Weird deck. Weird deck. We saw nothing but basic mountains, so pretty hard to assume that Nemesis isn't in the deck. I think there's absolutely no world where I'm not bringing in the enchantment removal. And then Firebrands and Makos that are hard to get counters on, so I think I'm pretty obliged to bring in the Fire Magic also. And he seemed like he was super low to the ground with cases, so this seems like a horrible place to have Floodmaw. And then I'm going to be on the draw, so just 1 Profs, 1 Riddler. Pretty standard stuff across the board. Leave in my Mako since I'm on the draw, plus, like, didn't seem like he had a lot of good ways. Like, if he's on the play and spends a mana and a Firebrand to deal with a Mako, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Because that means he didn't spend a mana on turn 1 playing, like, a Lizard or a Bastronaut or something. So, I'm pretty happy with that. Opponent deep in the tank for sideboarding. Deep in the tank he is. I think we've been running really hot, right? I think I 4-0'd yesterday, and we're 3-0 today. We might, I swear I don't actually usually win this much. We might get the clean 8-0 over back-to-back videos. We've got to be favored here, I would think, as soon as I open my mouth, of course. But we've been mulliganing a bunch. Yep, this is totally fine. This is a put-back passage angle, I'm pretty sure. Could be one of the 3 drops just to be uber safe. That's actually probably what I'm going to do. Especially since I can play the passage on turn 2. I don't have anything to do with the mana otherwise. Yeah. Let's just be uber safe and make sure that we have the Scholar on 3. No 1-drop. Things are looking up for us. Inti, so that's another Mako enabler. Makes sense. It is not going to be relevant here, though. I'm just going to main phase it. There's no reason to get cute. I can't imagine anything that I would want to torch more than the Inti here, right? Like, maybe he plays something like a Needlehead and I get a little punished, but I don't think I have any reason to really choose to do that over just guaranteeing my point of damage. It is a little annoying that I drew Profs on turn 3. I would have loved to have played Profs last turn instead. As it stands now, I don't think I can justify not playing the Scholar. It's just too big of an immediate impact on the board. Torch has the potential to be a good draw here. I think we're going to discard double land. Alternatively, I could discard the Scholar. It's discard Scholar or double land, and I think I like double land a little bit more. Just because it makes the Mako bigger right now, because we're racing, right? I don't think we're, I mean, you have to race once a Nemesis is in play, because you can't ever block Nemesis. Blocking Nemesis is illegal. Yeah. Blocking Nemesis is completely forbidden. It is not an allowed play. Bink. No second Nemesis is good for us. That seems like one of the ways we were most likely to lose. Yep, strike makes a lot of sense. Okay. It's about as good of a turn as we could have hoped for. We are going to get value out of our torch, and we get to get the profs online. Ooh, ho, 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 ho. That's something. That is something. Funny, all the talking I was doing literally about a minute ago about how blocking Nemesis is illegal. I might actually block here if he doesn't do anything before he attacks. Because I actually care about time now. So even though I'm like, I would go to 11 either way, getting the permanent threat off the board is really relevant. And it's not like I'm gaining life. It's so funny. I actually am doing it, though. That's so funny. Only because I drew these exact two cards in sequence. Any other circumstance, I would just be planning to play the Scholar and making a really big... Ooh, that doesn't feel good. That makes my play better, though. Fuck. I'm probably just dead, right? Yeah, I'm probably just dead. I really, really needed 4 lands in play so that I could, like, Cauldron plus Fresh Start. And as it stands now, I don't think I can justify playing one of these cards to get Vivi mana online next turn. I think I'm too likely to die if I do that. I think I just have to pass and then hope that my opponent's, like, hand is not very good. Like, hope that it's, like, a bunch of... I'm not even sure. That's about as bad of a card as I could hope for, honestly. He still might attack to deal 1 damage because of Inti. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Gets the land out of it. Not a bad deal for the opponent. Our opponent has a play. What would he be thinking about playing and then choose not to? His own Soul Cauldron. I gotta say, I didn't see that coming. Okay, our opponent's cooking. Our opponent's cooking. He's got Makos. He's got Intis. He's got Crimsons. He's cooking, all right. He's big time cooking. Well, that poses a new problem, unfortunately, as I can't really... I mean, I'm just super dead, right? His creatures are about to be gigantic. I don't even know what the Scholar can find, realistically, but... Gotta play the Scholar, make a 4/4, because otherwise I'm just dead on board. That is something. That is something. Can I justify doing that this turn? I, of course, can't put a Vivi in the graveyard. So that leads me to believe no, I cannot. Wow, that Cauldron being in play really just ruined everything for me. Very tough. Very, very tough. Our opponent did some impressive cooking. Uh-huh. Need our opponent to go land into land pretty badly. Mm-hmm. So now what am I? Am I just chump blocking? I think I'm just dead. Am I chump blocking? I think it just doesn't matter, right? I think we're just stone dead. I don't think we have any outs from this spot. We just don't have enough resources to get anything going. And dead. All right. Our opponent played some bangers and got us. How different is my sideboarding plan now? Well, we're definitely going out Tursa like we normally do against red. And we definitely want extra abrades. I think that's the only real modification that I'm making. I want the fourth profs back in my deck as well, of course. I don't think I'm trying to do any of this mirror nonsense. I don't think I want annulls for just that stuff. I think we're totally happy doing that. I think we're probably off fire magic, right? Again, we saw Mako's, but now we've kind of seen that they do have more ways to turn a lot of that stuff on. And we don't want our whole deck to be removal like I was saying before, so... Need to cut one more card. I don't really want to cut anything. I actually like a lot of these cards. It's probably just Mako. It's Mako. Do I ever go down to 2 Mako for anything? I don't think I want anything. I think this is good. I can live with this. Wild. Hopefully these extra abrades do us well. God, Inti was a problem that game too. Our opponent, I'm really impressed. Is what they're doing good long term? Unclear. I would venture no. I mean, they got obviously a ton of equity because I didn't know what cards were in their deck, right? That's something that you don't necessarily have at like a Baltimore equivalent Spotlight Day 2 tournament where it's open deck list, but yeah, for just closed deck list like this, they threw us some curveballs. They got us good. They got us real good. Opponent is deep, deep, deep in the tank again. All right. Give us a good 7. We've been mulling a bunch today. Give us a good 7. Make it easy. Give us an easy one. It never does. It never does. All right, this will work. Am I actually just getting rid of the torch? Getting rid of the torch against the red aggro deck, huh? Kind of hard to justify getting rid of anything else, though. I'm not willing to put the third land in there and then missing. That ain't me. I ain't your guy. I am a cautious, conservative asshole. Our opponent has their choice of 1 mana cards, it looks like. Land would have been there. Unlucky. Unlucky. Come on, man. Just play an Inti. Just play an Inti. One time, play an Inti. Hopefully he doesn't play a Cauldron of his own. Cauldron of his own is a huge problem for me. But he's clearly not playing Inti. So he might just be sitting on removal. I'm kind of okay with my Scholar dying, honestly. That's not the end of the world to me. Just gonna kill it right away. I think that makes a decent bit of sense. Sure. Oh, no. Come on, game. Don't do this to me. Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument to keep the Vivi in your hand now and actually just play it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to trust in the deck to deliver up another card draw spell or creature. I don't think playing a Vivi, I don't think you're likely to win the game that way. Unlucky. Let's go ahead and eat our Vivi since he's got a hired claw in the graveyard. And we need some help. We need some help. I probably just have to main phase that, right? Because if I let him untap and then he could like have like a Mako or something, that feels really bad. We are in danger, friends. We are in danger. We need a Quantum Riddler off the top stat. Quantum Riddler, please. Riddler. 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 Could still get there, maybe. Riddler. Riddler. Fuck. Maybe not dead next turn, at least. Not looking good. I talked all that shit after the first game. Thought I was going to get the 4-0-8-0. And here I am. Sad. Sad, sad, sad. Uh-huh. Boom. No! No! The disrespect. The absolute audacity of our opponent. Alright, well, we were never winning that game. No card draw in the top 14 cards. One Scholar there, but... Alright, good beats. Our opponent got us. Ending on a 3-1. We'll take it. At least we didn't go down infinite. It would have felt really bad to have 3 wins and then have it all canceled out by well, it did all get canceled out, but at least we stayed even. I can live with that, I suppose. Alright, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If this was the kind of thing that you were enjoying, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I would appreciate it very much. Other than that, I think we're going to probably keep up with the standard grinding for the next couple days to come, and then I'll probably maybe start migrating to some limited play once the current limited set is playable to begin with. But yeah, that's going to be our trajectory going forward. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.